So those of you who know me well know that I am a big advocate of eating really healthy fats, and that is predominantly animal fats, fats that come from really healthy pasture-raised animals, and that's really is the best kind of fat that we can eat. So this video is being made with that in mind because I often talk to people about eating tallow, and a lot of people don't know what tallow is, or they find it hard to come by, and this video is all about how to get it, how to make it, and what to do with it. So first of all, what do I mean by tallow? So tallow is the rendered fat from an animal, whether it's a goat, a sheep, or a cow. And we take the fat and we put it through a very simple process where we extract all the water from it and other stuff in the fat, and we pour off the liquid and leave it to cool and to set. And that is a shelf-stable, wonderful product that we can use in so many things. So this is fat from our lambs that we processed this October of this year, and I didn't have time to turn this into tallow straight away, so I vacuum sealed it, popped it in the freezer for a time when I was actually able to do it, which is today. This is tallow. Solid, hard, at room temperature, and completely shelf stable. And with this fat, I use it to make beautiful healing balms for the body. I use it to make wonderful soothing lip balm for the lips, and I use it for making beautiful, natural, nourishing soaps that don't strip the skin of its natural oils, but rather they nourish and gently cleanse the skin. And of course, I use it for cooking. Pretty much all of my cooking in the pan on the stove. So we've got our fat, and we're now going to cut this up into small cubes to increase the surface area of it and pop it in our slow cooker, and we'll start the process of rendering it to make it into tallow. So I've got my slow cooker here ready. I have 3 settings: low, high and auto. So this is already on and it's nice and warm, and we'll get this. This is lovely hard white fat. So this is lamb fat, as you can see, and this is now really hard and pretty easy to cut now into small pieces. So we're doing this to increase the surface area of this tissue, which will get hot and the lipids will melt and come out of the tissue, and that's what we're after. A hot fatty liquid that we're then going to strain off once it's ready. So cooking with tallow is amazing for your gut health, and I'm big on gut health for lots and lots of reasons. And we want to be making sure that we're putting things into our bodies that are actually going to feed and nourish us and do us good and not harm. Tallow is one of those things. It's unlike industrial seed oils like sunflower oil, vegetable oil, flaxseed oil, soybean, linseed, and so on and so on. These are heated at high temperatures when they are extracted from the seed, and they pretty much always turn rancid. And in that process of getting them into a bottle, which you then may have in your kitchen, they will be deodorized, they will be bleached, and they will be full of chemical solvents. And that's not what you want in your body. They are potentially very dangerous for you. And with tallow, there is none of that. Tallow is a very simple process, and it's a shelf-stable, solid fat that, as I've shown you, we can use it for so many things. Tallow is high in vitamin A, D, E, and K2, and it's necessary for every cell of the body, especially for the brain tissue. Very, very important, and super important in the developing and the growing child, and very, very important for you pregnant women out there, that you are consuming these very nourishing and correct fats for your body and for your growing baby. Very important. I grew up in an era of the low-fat world. Everything was low-fat. We were told that we should be eating low-fat, and we were told that we should be eating margarines. We should be cutting all the fat off our food and not consuming it because of the dangers. And how wrong they were. And so many of us were led to believing that that was correct, and it's caused so many problems to my generation. And sadly, those lies are still being going around, that cholesterol and fat from animals is so bad for you. And are we getting any better since eating all these processed vegetable oils and these fake butters? No, we're not. We're actually getting more sick, and we need to get outside of the box of conventional advice and think about what we're actually doing. This is an age-old practice. This has been here for thousands of years, and it's only in these last 50 years when our food has been messed around so much by big food companies, and we're fed a pack of lies about what is good for us. We need to take a step back and look at what our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers did, and really think about what are we eating and what are we doing. And you know, when you do this yourself, it costs a fraction of what you'd be spending by actually buying all of those rubbishy fats out there. So where do you get tallow from? You can buy actually tallow that's already been rendered by your butcher, and there are some very good online shops as well. However, for a fraction of the price, you can go to a butcher and you can ask him for the fat from lambs or from beef cattle that's been slaughtered, and you bring it back, and that's the raw ingredient. You do this process, follow these simple steps that I'm going to show you, and you will end up with a fantastic product in your house to nourish you, to nourish your family, and to nourish those that you invite into your home to feed. So we're just going to let that heat up now, and we're going to put the lid on, but not fully. We're going to just put it like that, because what we're aiming to do here is, within this animal tissue there's a lot of water, and there are a lot of other things in there too. We just want to extract the fat and take the water out, because when we want to keep something, we need it to be as much as without water as possible. So we want to evaporate off all that water. We want to melt that fat, and then we'll be straining that off, all the tissue and the other bits and bobs that are left in there. But you'll see that process as we go through it. So we want that steam to escape while this is heating up. And we're going to come back to this within an hour to 2 hours, and we'll just give it a bit of a stir. So there are two other important points that I wanted to mention to you about tallow and cooking with tallow. Tallow can be cooked at high temperatures, unlike seed oils. And when we cook tallow at high temperatures, that heat does not change the molecular structure of this fat. Seed oils, the molecular structure is changed, and it becomes an even more dangerous and actually a poisonous substance in our bodies. And tallow, that doesn't happen with. So we can roast with it, we can gently cook with it, we can saute with it, we can pop it in our casseroles, we can scramble our eggs in it, we can use it for so many things. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about is sustainability. So tallow is also sustainable. So these good pasture-raised, pasture-fed animals are being slaughtered to provide us with wonderful, nourishing meat, and the fat is a byproduct. And we can then render that fat and turn it into tallow. That's really important, because I'm a big believer in not wasting anything. We have so much food wastage today. Now, I carried on cutting up the rest of the fat that I had there, the lamb fat. So the pot is looking fuller now than what you saw it before. And I just want to show you, this is just after 20 minutes. And I want to show you what's happening there at the bottom, if you can see that. You see how it's melting already? And we're getting this clear liquidy fat coming. There's the fat starting to melt. I should have said as well that I've put the slow cooker setting on high. This gives the best result I've found with my slow cooker. You're basically wanting a good heat to come out of this. You don't want it to burn, but you don't want it to be just a gentle heat either. And stirring it every so often really helps. Now, another thing to mention is, when you are rendering this fat, it can produce a smell, a fatty smell, which is not unpleasant. However, I do recommend that if you have a garage or an outside shed with a power outlet, you put your slow cooker out there, because this is actually quite a long process to do this. It's not difficult at all, it just takes time. Depending on how much fat you're rendering, this could take from 12 hours to 24 hours. And what we're looking for is no more bubbles rising to the surface. Bubbles mean water evaporating. And when we've got a nice pool of liquid fat in there and no bubbles coming up through it, we know that it's done. But I'll walk you through that process. For now, this is going outside into our harvest kitchen that we have built here on our small holding for doing processes like this. As I said, you can put it in an outside shed, somewhere under cover where there's a power outlet, your garage. Just don't forget to check on it every so often. Give it a stir. Make sure that that lid is just sitting just slightly off the top there to let the water evaporate, and let it do its thing. We'll come back to this a bit later on. So here we are the next morning, and I put the slow cooker on overnight, but I turned it down to low overnight. It was on high for a few hours yesterday evening, and then because I knew it was going to be going slowly overnight, I turned it down to low, and I'll show you what it's looking like now. So here it is. Just take the lid off, and you can see we've got all that lovely fat. No bubbles coming up now, but what we will do is we'll turn this back up to high just briefly, just to get it up to a slightly hotter temperature. This is pretty hot at the moment, but we'll just come back in half an hour just to see if we really have evaporated out all that water. Make sure no bubbles are coming to the surface. Right, so we're bringing that back up to temperature now, and it's now time to go and get the jars ready, and we'll make sure they're nice and clean, lids are clean, and we will heat them up in the oven and get them really nice and hot, ready for filtering out the fat from all the little crunchy bits in the slow cooker and jarring it up. So I've got a selection of jars here. Some are preserving jars and some are just straight jam jars, which do the job perfectly, and it means that you can store your tallow in jars that are not too large. It makes it a little bit more practical. So I think we'll choose a couple of these. I mean, we can even go for a small one like this. They don't need to be preserving jars. In fact, I'll show you some that I've done earlier on this year. So here we are. This is some lard I did in February. This is some lamb tallow. These are just, you know, jam jars. There's some lard. And there's another one there. That's some lamb tallow in an old coconut oil jar. And you see they just sit on the shelf like that. You know, they've been out here since February. It's not warm, and it's dark when the door is shut.
So I'm just getting ready what I need to strain. A funnel, metal funnel. You don't want anything plastic because we're dealing with very hot liquid here. Metal sieve, stainless steel large spoon or a ladle, and then some kitchen towel. I like to use unbleached paper to keep any impurities out. And then this is the tricky bit, just trying to get this started, but then I like to separate the piece of kitchen towel. My sieve fits quite nicely in this funnel, and then I'll just line it with that. So I just get that ready, set up. We'll be using this piece as well. Once this has got a bit clogged up, we'll be swapping it over. And we'll go and check now the fat and see how it's doing. So here we go. This has been brought up to temperature. We'll just take the lid off and we just check for any bubbles. And there's nothing. So that means that this is now ready. Just give it a stir. Yeah, that's great. That's all ready now for us to jar it up. Right, so we're ready to jar up. We'll just put this on these hot jars. We'll try and get it as stable as we can because we have to be really careful. We don't want to burn ourselves here. Take this a bit closer. Just work carefully and slowly. There's no rush. Just getting that first one started off because the tissue wants to fold back on itself.
Oh, you won't.
Because then it means I'll have a piece for tomorrow and Sunday. That's my thinking.
So there you are, we have 4 jars, pretty hot, so we just keep these nice and still now. Just make sure those lids are on. It's a bit tricky when they're so hot. We keep those nice and still and we just let that fat set up and go really cold. You can see why I lined this tray with newspaper, because there was a little bit of spillage. Shame really to waste it, but the paper soaked it up and I can use that newspaper on the fire when we light it next. And now for all these crunchy little bits left over. These are great for adding as a topping to salads, to pop in your casserole pot when you're doing casseroles, or you can just sprinkle them really liberally with salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of smoked paprika as well, and you can just enjoy them as a tasty little snack. So don't throw those away, they're great to have. Or if you keep them just naturally as they are, I like to throw a couple into the dog's feeding bowl as well, so they get a bit of it too. So there you have it. That's how to render fat into tallow, and this is a beautiful product that you can use for your cooking and for your skincare and for your soap making. It's wonderful, super nutritious, and you're helping with sustainability. You're actually supporting farmers that care for their animals and pasture raise them and pasture finish them, which is the way agriculture should be. And you're using a byproduct as well, so nothing gets wasted, and sustainability is a very important thing. We need to be using and utilising what we have, so support your local farmers when they're raising their animals well on grass, and you benefit too. I hope you found this really helpful. Put in the comments if there's anything else that you'd like to know or that I can explain further to you. But thanks so much for watching, and I wish you all the success with doing this.